Well, good morning, everybody. Welcome to the Moutaineer Pre-Game Show. Greg Crist, along with Frank Fair and our good buddy Dave Gorby, joining us this Saturday morning. Frank, got another early one, and we've talked about the early schedule and the travel and all that, and unfairness of it, but we've actually performed pretty well these earlier times. So, what do you do?
Well, and also, playing out of Tempe is never easy in the afternoon, even in the evening because of the heat. And
Yeah,
today it's supposed to be very reasonable, so that's a
yeah.
big issue. Anytime a team from out east goes out to Arizona to play in the desert.
Yeah, and we've talked about this scheduling and supposedly it's random, but I mean it makes you wonder, and you look at the you look at some of the things the obstacles that we've had, and facing teams coming off buys and that sort of thing, and then having to travel during the week, early games. That if it's random, then random hadn't done us any favors, and he needs to get his act together.
That's
But
right.
like I said, we performed pretty well in these early games. So I don't know how much of a factor that is. Tom told us the other night that the players like playing these early games because they like to get up, eat breakfast, get to the stadium, and get ready instead of laying around all day waiting on a late game start. So maybe it'll work out. We'll hope so. Anyway,
Yeah. Hey, Dave, it's so good to see you.
yes,
It's been a while, and God, just
Yeah,
good
I
to see you.
definitely appreciate the invite. I love coming on here, and you're right. It's man, I can't remember what the last time it was, but definitely appreciate being on the show this morning.
yeah, it's been a while since Dave's been in there with us, and you know what? I was just down noticing Frank. He looks a lot like Shane. You put them side by side, that'd be a tandem there, wouldn't it? They look alike. But
That's
yeah,
right.
yeah,
Absolutely.
he does look like. But yeah, glad to have Dave with us because Dave is really engaged. He pays close attention. He goes to all the games that are home, and really knows the what's going on up there. So it's always fun to have Dave on here, and we appreciate you taking some time to hang out with us, Dave. Good deal. Um, you guys looking at this upcoming opponent, um, and the way we've been playing here lately. Um, Dave, and I'll go ahead and start with you. What's your thoughts about this matchup with Arizona State? How are you feeling about it?
You, it's kind of hard to really. I mean, like we're feeling good because it feels like we're starting to definitely getting in the flow in the past few weeks. And last week, like Rich kind of said it a bunch of times. We didn't exactly play our best, but we kind of figured it out all through the fourth quarter. We finally got that run game going a little bit. And obviously today it's just a little bit different animal. I think Arizona State has one of the better defenses in the conference, but they are dealing with a little injury bug, just not as bad as we've dealt with it, but um, them having a quarterback out, and also probably their best playmaker is going to be out again this week. So yeah, it's going. I think it's going to be a definitely interesting matchup. Obviously, I think our defense has kind of got their swag back.
Yeah,
Um, our rush defense. Of course, I think it's kind of helped because we haven't played a quarterback that will run the ball the past few weeks, and that's helped that run defense out.
yeah,
But
yeah.
I think the defense is starting to kind of get that swagger back. So definitely interesting.
Yeah, we've kind of struggled with that mobile quarterback this year, and like you said, it wasn't quite as bad. And we got pressure on. Of course, Frank brought out the point and hit it spot on that Colorado's offensive line was big. They weren't very good, and he was right. And we sacked them I think 7 or 8 times. And I was asked the question the other day
Mhm.
by Shane about the team and why I felt like that we were starting to come around. What do I think caused that? I just think that number one, you've adjusted. You haven't gotten your injured players back. Obviously,
Mhm.
we're not going to get Jaheim White and Bray back. We know that. So rather than get them back, we've adjusted. I think, we've adjusted
Yes.
to the injuries. We've got people in the right spots. They're starting to gel a little bit. The offensive line's coming together a little bit. So I think all that can be attributed to our recent play. And, you just hope it's not an anomaly. You hope that we continue it. And, if we do, I'm not so sure. I mean, watching us play Houston, Frank, and you talked about this. They can beat anybody in the conference if they play like that.
Yeah, oh, absolutely. And I think everybody's got their fingers crossed that this will continue this week after a big win on the road and then coming back at home and beating the Buffaloes. Now, I hope this is official. Chris Anderson reported yesterday that Jordan Tyson, their great wide receiver, will not play today. He's out. And I assume that reporting was based on Arizona State releasing who's going to play, who's injured, who's questionable, and so on. And if anybody watched Rich Rod's press conference earlier in the week, he mentioned that Tyson, from his point of view, is not just one of the better wide receivers around the country. He's one of the better players. He's next level. And so he's talking about the pros. And not to have him makes a big difference, because that means that their first-string quarterback, Sam Leavitt, the Michigan State transfer, and basically they're going to play with their second-string quarterback, Jeff Sims, and then Tyson, their top receiver, is out of the game too, and that makes a big difference. One last thing I'll say: I feel the same way, Greg, about Arizona State's defensive line, the way I felt about Colorado's offensive line. They've got really good linebackers and I think very effective backside players on the defense. But we've got to run the ball, and I think that's not the strength of their defense from my perspective. Their defensive line.
Yeah, I think, and I think you'll see. Sorry, Dave, I'll let you hear.
You're good.
One of the things that I felt like we needed to do all year, and I think this is, a lot of people say, well, that's any game. But we got to establish that run game. And, if you noticed our team, when we come out and we run the ball effectively the first few series and can run it some, our passing game really opens up a lot better. And the things that we can do in this offensive scheme really open up. But if we come out and get stymied on that run right off the bat, we struggle a little bit, because we're not a real great passing team. But some teams set up the run with the pass, others set up the pass with the run, and I think we're the latter. We have to establish that run game, and that'll open up our pass game. Go ahead, Dave, jump in there.
No, I was just gonna piggyback. Frank was talking about their rush defense, and if you look at their numbers, like yards wise, yes, they're one of the top in the thing. But if you look at the attempts and giving up rush touchdowns, that's a little bit different story. Like TCU, they've not given up a lot of yards, but there's a lot of rush attempts on TCU's defense. So I mean, TCU's one of the better ones. I don't think, I'm not knocking Arizona State, but I think that stat line's a little, because everybody's looking at the total yards they gave up, but if you look at back and forth the attempts. I think that's somewhere we're going to have to, and obviously we will, because that's what Rich wants to establish is the run game. So, and talking about the line play, how much better has it been since he's put Haslam on that line on the left side, just shoring up that? I mean, you still see some give ups from Kimu and Crawford here and there, and then even the Houston game, Young Bear had to go in and play on Kimu's spot, and they kind of had some misreads sometimes. But just shoring up the left one side of that line has just made that thing look better. Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, and I know looking back at the TCU game in particular, I remember we gave up some sacks in that game where it was just like open the door and come on in. I mean, there was nobody touched the blitzer, and I thought, man, we got to get that fixed or somebody's going to get killed. And we seem to have shored that up. Like you said, you got that line shored up a little bit, and that's prevented some of that. And those are just, that's not really skill so much as just misreads, not doing your assignments right.
You got to read, and
Right.
some mistakes have been reads. It hasn't
Right.
been getting beat
Right.
like on one. It's just you're having the wrong read, and it's just been better since Haslam's been in there. So
Yeah.
it has been. I'm not saying it's been like a top 10 offensive line by any means, but it's been better.
Gotten better. Yeah.
And I think that's why we've gotten in the flow a little bit better the past few weeks. So,
Well, looking back at last week here, just for a second before we move on, Colorado came in, and I think most of us felt like, we were going to dominate that game. And, you watch the game, and the score was close, I guess, but it never really felt like we were in any jeopardy of losing that game, or at least I didn't feel like we were in any jeopardy. But I didn't think we played that well. I was a little disappointed in the way we played because I really thought we'd come out being a home game, being on a roll like we've been. I really thought we'd come out and just dominate it. And we kind of did dominate the game, but like I said, I never really felt like we were in any trouble losing the game. But I don't think we performed quite to expectations. I feel like most people thought we were going to come out and just dominate. And Frank, I'll get your take on that. Looking back at last week's game.
Well, I agree. I mean, it was a nail biter. That sail or wheel route that was thrown, that was really a very critical point in the game. And so, I mean, I think everybody recognized that when Coach Prime said we're going to go with our freshman quarterback, Juju, that it was going to be a learning experience because he hadn't played that much. And so you could actually see him growing during the game. He became more of a threat. At the beginning, he had trouble getting his sea legs, but as the game went on, he became more of a threat, and we had to rise to the occasion. I mean, he's going to be a great quarterback.
Yeah.
And there's chatter, obviously, now that he may not stay at Colorado. But the bottom line is that we had to play better. That was it wasn't the Houston game where we came out, scored quickly, and basically took that game away from a team that was really playing for a spot in the Big Ten championship game. Arizona State still has those aspirations, and so that's a storyline across the Big 12 too. Is that there are a couple games this week in addition to ours that the losing team is going to find themselves on the outside looking in.
Dave, what's your thoughts?
I was just going go off Frank there. He was talking about Juju being a learning experience. Did you already see he's made one change from last week's game? Did y'all see that? He's braided his hair. So I don't think he's going to get sacked like he did that one time last week.
That's right.
Going off last week, obviously, coming off their previous two games where they just got blown out both times, you kind of thought, well, that was going to help us too. But I think Juju being in there brought a little bit more excitement back in that team, and they battled. But I think what hurt us was the turnover battle last week. Something the defense has been doing all year. We've been turning the team over. We got that one, but then we literally gave it right back. And, that was just a couple freshman moments that Scotty had last week. So hopefully he doesn't have any of those freshman moments today. But obviously it was big that the special team got involved last week, obviously with the block punt. But everybody also remembers, they missed the PAT as well. That's 3 points we basically got off of special teams last week.
Yeah. Yep. And special teams, as we know, always plays a major role, it seems like. And our special teams have been pretty solid this year, really. Haven't nothing outstanding, but they've been solid. It's not like years past where every time we kick off, we had to hold our breath, or every time we punted, it was an adventure. So that's been a lot better. You talk about the guy, Juju's hair deal. There's been a lot of chatter about that. I know a lot of it was AI generated, but I read something on that, and that's a perfectly legal play. If you
Right.
have it hanging out there, it's subject to get grabbed a hold of. So,
Mhm.
and watching the play, it wasn't anything intentional. You could tell that he was flying by and just trying to grab a hold.
It happened so quick. I mean, I thought, I was there. I was like, oh God, it's a face mask, just because it happened so quick. But I mean, it was clearly that he got yanked because his head came back like
Right,
that. But
right,
uh,
right.
but yeah, it was just one of those things where things happen so quickly. Mhm.
Yeah, and like I said, if you watched it, I saw a replay of it several times. He was just flying by trying to grab something. It wasn't like it was intentional or anything. And that's a risk you take if you have your hair hanging out like that.
Mhm.
That's just a risk you got to take. Going into this game today, I think I have a little different feeling about this one than I did last week. I felt like and I told Frank the keys to the game. I thought. Last week was the fact that we were on the uptrend and they were on the downtrend. And I felt like that was going to be a key. We were coming in playing well and they weren't. That didn't play out as much as I thought it would.
Mhm.
This week I have a little different feeling. I don't have any visions of grandeur that we're going to come in there and dominate anybody. I just feel like if we come in and play solid
Mhm.
and keep the mistakes to a minimum,
Yes.
then we're going to have a chance because I really think that we're starting to come together as a team. And I don't see a blowout either way. And if you'd asked me 3 or 4 weeks ago what I thought, we're going on the road out to Arizona. It's going to be tough. Early game, we're going to get killed. I would have really thought that deep down inside. I don't feel that way today. I feel confident that we can go out and play and be competitive and be right in the game. But I think we got to take care of the football. And I've said this several times. The keys to the game typically are the keys to the game. You got to take care of the football, not turn it over.
Mhm.
You got to establish a run game. Your defensive line has to be strong. All those types of things. But with us, I think a real key for us is going to be able to put together some drives, some scoring drives. We need to because we haven't any trouble moving the ball up and down the field. It don't seem like we got to score once we get there. We've done a pretty good job of that so far this year. Our red zone offense has been pretty solid, and but I think if we come out and establish that run early and have some drives, string some drives together, I think we're going to be fine. And defensively, a lot of people are always critical of our defensive backs, but Frank, I've said it over and over that it's really on the defensive line, in my opinion.
Yeah.
And your defensive backs can't cover somebody. Me and Dave could get open if you got 10 seconds back there to throw, and you got to get pressure. I mean, you got to have pressure on that quarterback, and that gives everybody a chance. It gives your defensive backs a fighting chance. If you're not getting some pressure, you're giving too much time. They don't have much of a chance back there. I mean, it's hard to guard somebody that long. So I think that's a key too. We've got to pressure the quarterback some. Frank, I'll throw it to you
Yeah.
and let you talk a little bit about this one.
Yeah, just following up what you're saying, let me just combine it with players to watch because it's pretty clear they've got some outstanding players, a bunch of them, most of them from transfers. But, they lost Sam Levitt at quarterback, who's outstanding. I mentioned on Wednesday, if you watch the college football playoff game last year with the Texas Longhorns, he almost won that game single-handedly. Probably Arizona State should have won that game. Anyway, Jeff Sims put up 238 on the ground, not in the air, 238 running it last week. And so that the Mountaineers have to focus on Jeff Sims. We do not want to hear his name spoken a lot in terms of running. He's a 50-50 passer. He's a good player. He's a UNL Nebraska Lincoln grad transfer, but let's not. He just can't get anywhere near that. The other thing is that we got another guy again since Jordan Tyson is out of the game. The guy that we got to contain is Chimone Moutaineer, who's a Cincinnati transfer. He's going to be their top wide receiver, and you don't want to hear his name a lot. And I think, again, that goes back to our defensive line, putting pressure on Sims. As I said, a 50% passer. Two players on defense to watch. I mentioned earlier, their linebackers are the strength of the team. Keyshawn Elliott, a New Mexico State transfer, senior linebacker, so he's got a lot of experience, already 40 solo tackles. He's a guy you got to watch. And Jordan Crooks, an Arkansas transfer, also a linebacker. We got to watch. Those are two guys we don't want to hear their names. And I mentioned sort of their X factor is their place kicker. You talked about special teams, Greg. Jesus Gomez, an Eastern Michigan transfer, he's sort of a tale of two cities. He's money inside the 40 and not so much outside the 40. So on long field goals, he's just not very effective. I mean, that's just the record. So we don't want him, the deciding kick under 40 yards or less. So I think those are just a few of the players we've got to pay attention to. And again, we're going to know pretty quickly whether Sims is going to replicate what he did last week in terms of yardage on the ground.
Yep. And again, the special teams thing, we haven't really, I don't really know if our kicker can kick a long field goal or not. I don't know that we've tried a long field goal this year. It don't seem like, I don't remember any, but I mean, there may have been, but you want to keep that guy outside that 40 mark because he's pretty spot on inside. But that could be a plus for us. I think him not being effective from long distance, I think is a good thing. Dave, what do you think?
Just going off of what you guys are saying. So we'll start with the defensive line, our box, our linebackers, and obviously Fred Perry they bring Fred Perry on blitzes as well. Arizona State is next to last of giving up sacks in the league. Obviously, Colorado is dead last on that. So that's definitely a key area that you're looking at. And like Frank was saying, the different, you look at the running quarterbacks we dealt with, Dampier and Bear Bachmeier. And obviously those guys, I remember Dampier was pretty efficient that day. Like I think he was around 20 for 25 that day. And I think that's kind of normal for him. I think he's around a 70% guy. And Bear Bachmeier had, 300 yards passing against us. But Jeff Sims is a regular 50-50 guy. So that's going to be the only difference. And obviously that's big not having Jordan Tyson in the game. But like Frank was going off of, the tight end. I think that's what he is a tight end. That's going to be a key matchup. But the other thing about Jeff Sims is, can we cause some turnovers from him? One thing about it is I was looking at even back to his Georgia Tech stats. 1 year, and he's never played a full year. He's never played 12 games, 13 games or anything. But his first year, he fumbled the ball 10 times. And I think he had 2 fumbles against. I can't remember if they lost against Iowa State, but he had 2 fumbles against Iowa State. So that's a key thing. We got to get turnovers on defense today. So, and then obviously keys to the game, got to run the ball. But I think Jeff Sims is a key area. We can't make him a 70% passer. We can't make him 80% passer. We got to keep him that 50% passer or below is a big thing today.
Yeah, a lot of these guys that are we call running quarterbacks or dual threats. It makes it a lot easier to throw the ball when the defensive line and linebackers are focused on keeping you contained as opposed to rushing you. There's a difference, and containing almost like a zone defense in basketball. You got an area you got to cover. And so that pressure doesn't always come, and it allows those guys to stand back there and throw the ball some, which I think it improves their passing. If they're able to run the ball, just like establishing the run game. If the quarterback's able to get out there and run with it, then the defense has to honor that. And when you do that, you're giving up some of your pressure, and it makes it a little bit easier to throw. So, yeah, I'm with you on that. We've got to get we got to get pressure on him. We got to contain him, and there's obviously ways to do that. And I'm sure they've been working on that all week. But you can't just pin your ears back and go. You gotta make sure you're preventing him from getting outside and stepping up in the pocket and those sort of things. So that's going to be fun to watch that part of it, just see how we play that. We've struggled with the dual threats a little bit, and it'll be interesting to see. Before we go any further, guys, I know this is a football show, but we'd be remiss if we didn't mention the fact that we kicked the dog stuffing out of Pitt in basketball the other night, and then our girls pulled off a miraculous win last night over to Greenbrier. So a little bit of basketball news to sprinkle in with our football pregame. And Frank, I know you were checking it out, and because you messaged me, and I wasn't aware that they were playing, and I'd forgotten. And you texted me, so I flipped over and was watching. What an amazing game by our Mountaineers!
Oh, it was just fantastic, and the most improbable of outcomes. Certainly, in fact, let me pull this up and see if we can get some magic here. Let me see if this is going to come up. Is it going to come up? There we go.
Good stuff. Good stuff. Pretty good stuff right there. And Dave and I have got to experience the atmosphere over at the Greenbrier for those basketball tournaments. We did a couple of games over there.
Yeah.
Great atmosphere, for basketball. It's a smaller place and a lot of fun.
Yeah, it's a neat little. I mean, it's a ballroom, is what it is. But you get so jam packed down in there. It's like you said, it's a neat little, just little atmosphere, is what you said. I mean, you probably only have about 2,500 people in there,
right?
But it's pretty neat,
Yeah, and for folks that don't know, they had a little skerfuffle there and early in the game, and West Virginia's players left the bench, so they were ejected. And Frank, if I'm not mistaken, didn't Duke get to shoot like six or seven technical foul shots as well in that scenario?
The problem that you and I both had is we both had YouTube, and so the ESPN feed didn't come on until into the second half.
Right.
Thankfully, it came on. When it came on, West Virginia was shooting some free throws because one of the Duke players was ejected. But again, the incredible thing, and the reason it made the Sports Center last night, is that West Virginia, you're right, had 6 players ejected, had only 5 available players, only one starter. Right. And so you had 4 reserves and a starter. Basically, take it to Duke from the beginning of the second half, when you think the game was given to Duke on a platter, outscored them, I think, 23-9 in the third quarter and won the game. And Dave and I were talking about the schedule, and let me pull it up here. It's quite amazing. The women's schedule, I had it up here, and then by the way, I want to mention, when I'm through with this, I looked up Cade Hensley's stats, Greg, on his kicking. But let me pull this up here. That is absolutely incredible for West Virginia's December schedule. having trouble here with my handhold. This is their December schedule. On the 1st, they play Villanova at home. Then they play Georgia Tech at home on the 11th of December. Then they go to Texas A&M and play there December 14th. And then they end the year on the 21st of December playing Houston at home. So think about that. Villanova, Georgia Tech, Texas A&M, and Houston just in December. Those women, they're going to be in the top 25 next week. No question about it. So that December, if they can get through that December schedule, this could end up being a top 10 team.
Oh, yeah. Well, if you got obviously the bench is pretty good. I mean, you beat, number 15 team in the country with your bench, and if your bench is that good, that means you got some depth, and that's key in these conferences. You got to have depth, to be able to battle night in, night out, and it sounds like we've got it. And hats off again to Kellogg. Great job, man. He's got this thing rolling. And but that was pretty exciting last night. How often have you ever seen that? I don't remember ever seeing anything like that.
Never.
Dave, I do remember one time.
Well, I was about to say it was a little bit different scenario.
In fact, back when I was coaching at Mount Hope, Dave was there.
This was the year after I was done.
Yeah,
but.
We had a little problem with the bridge team, and ended up losing most of our starters, and unfortunately,
cost you a trip, Coach.
I believe it did.
You had Mount Hope playing good right there.
Oh yeah, we were playing well. Yeah, went over underhanded. I had people playing and never played a varsity game in their lives, and we had the state's leading scorer we were playing against.
Yeah, and, he was doing Steph Curry things before Steph Curry.
Yeah. So let's just put it this way: we didn't beat Duke.
Yeah, right.
But also, Greg, you talked about the men. I talk about the men for a second because we were talking before the show. Incredible defense. I mean, they absolutely blew Pitt out. I mean, in the second half, it was like, toward the end of the first half, forget it, it's over. Talk about that.
Pitt obviously pretty good basketball team, and I don't care who you're playing, on the Division I level. If you're holding somebody to 50 points, you're playing some defense. And one thing I said about this team is, as long as they play defense like they played defense the other night, they're going to have a chance in every game. Right. And I mean, they lock down on defense. The system, you can see the system how. And I don't know how much you guys watch this, but in years past, even when Bob Huggins was coaching there, it just seemed like the other team always had wide open threes, and that was a kind of a philosophy in that, if you just get a hand up, the chances of making that three are less than, making a layup, obviously. And so they don't attack it quite as hard, especially from the wings. That's a little bit more detailed than most people would want to know, but the highest percentage 3-point shots in the corner. So they want to defend that one, but the other ones, they kind of, fall off a little bit. But I noticed the other night, every shot they took was contested. I mean, somebody was running at the ball every single time. And I like that. I like that style of defense and just up in your face. And it's like the commentator said, it's not press Virginia, but it's pretty daggone close. And there's a lot of pressure. And I'm going to tell you that wears a team down when you're up in their grill like that constantly. After a while, it just gets so frustrating. And Pitt really got frustrated. You could tell. I mean, they had a couple technical fouls. Coach had a technical. But they got frustrated. You could tell. And that's from that defense. And Capel said the same thing. He said, credit to West Virginia and their defense. He said they locked us down. And they did. I was really impressed with the way we played. Dave, you can jump in there if you want.
I was going, and obviously this is going on the defense. I remember a couple of games ago, everybody was talking about the rebounding. The rebounding's the problem. And I didn't really get to watch the first game. I watched the second game little bit more. The work schedule got in the way, but like that second team, they almost shot like 30 free throws, and I'm like, that takes away your opportunities of getting defensive rebounds.
Yeah.
I think we won the defensive. I think we won the rebounding the other night against Pitt. So I mean, like I like I said, that defense is pretty stout, and now they're hope. And then after the Lafayette game or Lafayette game, I don't know how to pronounce it because we're from Fayette County, Coach. Like we get Chance Moore back, and then whenever we get Jackson Fields back, I mean that just adds depth to this team, and I'm excited about this. Excited about it. Definitely excited about this season. So.
Yep.
Well, and
Frank,
you were saying,
yep.
I was going to say, we were talking before, Greg, you got on. Dave made a good point. Why don't you elaborate this in terms of Huff and Eagle staff? There's more to see from them, right?
Oh, absolutely. You can tell how much of a spark plug Huff is. I mean, being that small, he knows how quick he has to get a shot off. But I mean, his shot's right there every time, it seems like. And it seems like Eagle staff's shot went in and out a bunch of times the other night too. Just wait until those two are both hitting at the same time. And like I was telling you guys, hopefully that's against Kansas or against Houston or somebody like that.
Yeah.
Then how do you beat us? That's
That's right. That's
yeah.
right.
And I'd said about Eagle staff, we know what kind of shooter he is. It probably will take him a little while. Like Dave said, he used to being the man, the main guy. He don't have to be that now. He can just go out there and play. But you still got to work your way into that flow.
Right?
He's playing a different game right now.
Yeah, like at North Dakota, he had the ball in his hand all the time, and now you got a point guard that you don't have to go find your shot. Now he'll create something. He'll give you a shot. So like it's just a different feel to the game. But definitely.
I think he'll as the season wears on, he'll get better and better and better just as he gets comfortable in in being that player that don't have to handle the ball everything, don't have to do everything. He'll just be able to relax, and I think it's going to help him in the end because he's just going to relax and shoot the ball. And you know what kind of shooter he is. You already know that. So they're going to be fun to watch. And like I said, they play defense like that, they're going to be in games no matter what.
Hey, Greg, switching sports just for a second to horse racing. We're working on a trifecta. We beat Pitt on Thursday. We beat Duke on Friday, and now we got to beat Arizona State on Saturday. Right. Yeah, I got the answer to your question about Cade Hensley, and I think it's a really good thing you're bringing up because it could come down to who hits that last field goal. And we already talked about Jesus Gomez for Arizona State. Cade Hensley is kicking. He's 82% for the year. And here's how he's doing from distance. He's 4 for 4 from 30 in. He's 2 for 2 from 40 in. So he's 6 for 6, 40 in. And then between 40 and 45, he's 2 for 4. That seems to be his Achilles heel. Of course, the wind is going to be a factor here. But he's 2 for 4 from 40 to 50 yards, and he's 1 for 1, 50 or longer. And his longest is actually right at 50. So he's been very, very, very effective. 82%. That's damn good. Yeah.
Yep. Pretty solid. And I don't remember us kicking a lot. I was going to say I didn't remember us kicking a lot of long field goals, but so I wasn't sure how far he could kick it. But I didn't know he had the 50-yarder. But that's encouraging. That could be a factor. Who gets that last kick and if it's them and it's long, the odds in our favor, and if it's us and it's long, the odds are in our favor. So that's a good thing. But I don't know if my heart can take a last second field goal game. I hope we just got there win by 25, I'd be happy. I like those kind of games where in the second half I'm just kick back.
That's not happening. You got to stretch a little bit.
Yeah.
I like those games like the Houston game where I'm just kicked back going, yeah, baby.
Yeah. Hey, Greg, here are the picks that we made, and we added Dave to that. And what's amazing, and Dave gave his pick. I didn't mention what the other scores were. These are all bundled. These are all bundled, and it's. Anybody want to comment on those?
Yeah, well, I noticed that our scores from last week come down significantly. All of us are in the 20s, and all of us are figuring it's going to be a 3, 4, 5 point game. So I think all of us think it's going to be close and relatively low scoring. That's not a high scoring game by any stretch, but yeah, I think looking at it from our perspective, we don't see us scoring a ton of points, but scoring enough to win, and I like that. So yeah, like I said, a couple 3-pointers. Yeah, everybody's predicting to be fairly close, which I think it will be, and hopefully we're all right on who's winning, which is us.
Yeah, I did have a chance to record Mickey, and I asked him, what do you think about the season situation where we pick every week, Dave, as you know, and Greg is leading it 4-3-3, and so here's the recording.
Yeah.
No, I swear, I swear that's his voice.
Frankie, you gotta. Hopefully, your eye will win this week, and you can pull that out Wednesday night. That'd be fantastic, and don't say anything to him. That's great.
That's right. Yeah. No.
Yeah, I think Mickey's the one.
We love Mickey.
Yeah. Oh yeah, love Mickey, but Mickey takes his. He takes his picking stuff a whole lot more serious than Frank and I do. He wants to win.
Well, and as he said, he beat us. He beat us like a drum last year. I think.
Like
8 games, but we're close this week. And yet, I added this to the graphic. People can see it there. We're all picking West Virginia. Obviously, we're homers, but the ESPN matchup predictor. 86%, even with a second string quarterback in there, 86% chance of winning, and it didn't change much over the week. And so this is a must win for Arizona State if they have it. They're 6-3. They're outsider now for the Big Ten championship game, and it's a tough team to predict because of the teams they've beaten. I mean, they've had a tough league schedule. I mean, Baylor, TCU, Texas Tech, and Iowa State. That's a pretty and then Houston and Utah as well. And so to beat Baylor, to beat TCU, to beat Texas Tech and ISU is not easy. And obviously they had Sam Levitt in for most of those games. Utah and Houston, tough, but they lost to Houston and we beat Houston, and so this team seems to be coming together at the right time. And so let's just hope for a competitive game.
Yeah, I'm hopeful. And I feel confident, I feel much better about this team than I did a month ago. We said all along, we want them to play hard and be competitive. And that's what we've gotten. They play hard all the time. Which is a credit to Coach Rodriguez and the staff up there, because these guys have never quit. And I think that's part of the reason, too, why they've improved. They just keep working and keep working and keep working, and they don't quit. And, they're trending in the right direction again. Like I said last week, we seem to be on the upswing, and, all positives going into the game. So you just hope that we go in, don't lay an egg, and stay competitive and have a chance to win. So, as a Mountaineer fan, that's really, I think, all we can hope for at this point.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Dave, what do you think about that?
Oh, I 100% agree. I mean, just a month ago or a little bit more than a month ago, we were talking about, man, this is the worst season since 19, whenever. And now in the past 3 weeks, like you can tell we're starting to get a little bit of a flow. Even though we didn't play our best last week, just getting a little bit of flow, seeing the fight. Now you're kind of getting that excitement back a little bit. And, it's got me hyped up because I'm looking at the recruiting board. I'm looking at all these firings. I'm thinking, man, how many kids are going to be in this portal here in a couple months? I mean, it's kind of gotten you going. I'll tell you another thing, going back to the special teams. What do you think about, I don't know if you guys noticed, he made a switch on kickoff and he has Nate Flyer in there. And now we're actually getting touchbacks. Like he's kicking it deep into the end zone. I think he's only miscued like a couple kicks. Been able to return.
Yeah, that's something we've talked about.
That's a hidden thing that people don't realize.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh,
Frank brought that up
huge.
last year. Talked about it a lot. Yeah.
Mhm.
And we struggled with that, and now seeing it going in the end zone is kind of nice every now, because we don't see that very often, and I think it's
we haven't for a while. I know that.
Yeah. So that's key, and that that goes a long way in solidifying that special teams part of it, and that you don't have to worry about that. If you think back last year to the Baylor game, you got the game in control, you kick it off, and the guy runs it back for a touchdown. You get down and score, you got the game in control again, you kick it off, and the guy runs it back for a touchdown. You're like, okay, that kind of thing is eliminated. You don't have to worry about that, and that's good. I mean, that's great, and we haven't had that, so that's a positive as well. So yeah, glad to see that. And I did notice that he had switched up on the kickoff, so
it helps out that at defense because they start further back.
Right.
You got more opportunities for the offense to mess up, which hindsight, I think Arizona State has the most penalties in the conference. So that's another little thing to look at. Let me see here.
Yeah, you just feel like
little things. Yeah.
They're next to last. They're next to last.
That's important.
They've had 75 penalties called on them this year. Out of 9 games. So
well, another thing, Greg, you pointed out one of the advantages of playing Houston down there was that stadium was just not full, and you have to wonder. Out in Tempe, their kickoff that's 11 o'clock in the morning, which means people have got to get up pretty early and get there. And is this a game that stadium is going to be half full because of the very early start time? And this is another example of what happens with the media, because this game was picked at the start at 11 o'clock Mountain Time pretty early. Usually they pick the times on Sunday, but it's on an off channel. It's on TNT and HBO Max. So they have a chance to, since ESPN and Fox passed, they have a chance to put it wherever they want. And so it ends up being at 11 o'clock. So let's just hope that the home fans are having breakfast and aren't there.
Yeah. I noticed that right off the bat. Dave's waving to all of his fans. I think.
No, I can't. Look at that. That's awful. I don't know
thought he was in a parade there for a second. Way he was
waving at everybody. I'm not having candy or anything.
That's one of the first things I noticed when the Houston game came on. I was like, "There's nobody there," And Sean Pryor, we talked about that, and the fact that it looks bad on the conference when you have stadiums. When you have you got a 7-1 team that was ranked 20th in the country, and you got nobody in your stadium for a home game, a big game, and that don't look good. And you wonder what kind of crowd we're going to have today out there. And I'm always happy because I think, okay, that's less we have to deal with if we don't have a big crowd yelling at us, a lot easier to deal with. But you like to see a good crowd. And like I said, I don't know how many. 11 o'clock in the morning, that's tough. If you look at here.
How about, I didn't realize, so really they're Pacific time, but Arizona, I didn't realize Arizona doesn't do daylight savings time. That's why it's 11 o'clock. It's not 10 o'clock. I did not realize that until this came up. And there's another state that doesn't do daylight savings time. Maybe somebody was telling me.
Yeah, I think there's two states. Two
Yeah.
states. No. I don't know why. I don't know why we do it. I don't know why anybody does it. I've always tried
I was ready to go to bed at 5:30.
Well,
that first night. God, no.
I remember back years ago they said, "Well, it's because of school. You want to be daylight in the morning for the buses and all that." And I'm thinking, well, it's dark when they run in the evening, so why not have it dark in the morning? What's the difference, But anyway, I guess they got their reasons. I don't know what they are, but they'll make something up, I'm sure. But yeah, that's a tough start time, and you wonder what the crowd's going to be like. I would be surprised if it's packed out. I think they'll have a decent crowd, though. I don't think it'll be bad. I think it'll be a lot better than Houston, that's for sure.
Yeah, one of the things that Rich Rod mentioned in his presser earlier in the week made me think. And that is, he said, when you've got a bye week like Arizona State has before this game, he said, typically what happens often is that the offense, when they get the ball, will try some trick plays, things you haven't seen before, to see if they can score quickly. So that's something to watch today. And we talked on Wednesday. This is but the shoe's on the other foot in terms of what I'm going to talk about. This is the second time we've gone on the road, Kansas and now Arizona State, where the home team has had a bye week before the game. You think the fairness doctrine would be, well, if you have a bye week, then you have to go on the road the next game. But with Texas Tech, we have a bye week next week, and then we get Texas Tech at home. And it goes without saying. I don't want to hoax.
We went to UCF, so I mean, I get it right there.
Yeah, I don't want to hoax, but how big that Texas Tech game is going to be if we can come away with a victory today. Yeah. Because a bowl game will be on the line for us, and they're looking not only at getting into the Big 12 championship game, but they're coveting what Texas Christian did a couple of years ago, and that is get into the playoff. In Arizona State last year.
I mean, this is definitely crazy because, just say if Notre Dame loses today, who else am I thinking about? Oregon. Oregon still has to play USC, and if that knocks out, there's no way ACC's getting more teams in the playoffs. It's got to be us. Like, could you imagine if Big 12 got, at least two teams in the college football playoffs? Yep. As much as they push for SEC and
Big Ten,
get it a little bit, but they got more money. But it'd be good for us to get at least two teams in that playoffs.
Yep, would be good. And I guarantee you this, though, guys, if we win today and we have Texas Tech coming in next week to Morgantown, ain't going to be no empty seats up there for that game. I guarantee you it'll be packed out.
It's been good. People about the TCU game, but obviously that was homecoming, so people were already in town for that. People come for that. And then last weekend, I think – winning in Houston, the weather was nice. I mean, it was packed out. It wasn't a sellout, but it was definitely. I think they announced it right at 55 last week, which is, you think 2, 3, and 6 teams. It's a lot better than that Houston crowd being the top 25.
Yeah, that's one thing you can say about the Mountaineer fans this year. They have shown up, and again. When you see the atmospheres, and we've talked several times about the different games and people talking about the different atmospheres and how great it was, TCU in particular, and that's good for recruiting as well. I mean, you got players in there seeing that. They know people are supporting. They like that.
He had a bunch of guys in last weekend. I know he has guys coming in on the open week, and then he even has guys coming in on the Texas Tech game. And the high school signing period is literally right after the Texas Tech game. It's the Wednesday after the Texas Tech game. So if you've been paying attention to that, man, it's been a lot. I think because you got more room to take scholarship kids now. You don't have that 85 limit. So that's why you see schools trying to flip commitments just because they got the room to do that now. And then obviously at the start of the new year is when the portal will open, and that will be a whole nother new ball game.
Absolutely.
Yep. Well, guys, it's been a good one, and we're getting clock's ticking down, and it's getting close to kickoff time here at 1 o'clock our time, I guess. Who knows what time it is out there, but I know it's 1 o'clock here, and who knows what channel it's on, but we're going to go try to find and watch it. But might have to get off my billfold and get some new services in here. I got every freaking thing you can imagine on my TV, but I can't get TNT of all things. But
Really?
but anyway,
Oh man.
yeah, I don't know. I don't even want to talk about it. I get aggravated and frustrated. But anyway, we'll figure out a way to watch it somehow. But been a great pregame. We'll be on about 15 to 20 minutes after the game is over, approximately 4:30. Frank's putting it up there now. Dave will be back to join us as well. And hopefully when we come back on, we're talking about that Moutaineer win. That's our goal. But we appreciate everybody for tuning in to the pregame show. We look forward to seeing you on the postgame show around 4:30, 15, 20 minutes afterwards here on the Voice of College Football. And Frank, Dave, appreciate you guys and all the work that you put into these things. You do a great job while I just sit here and blabber. So it's always nice to listen to you guys. Appreciate you both. Appreciate everybody for tuning in, and we will see you after the game, about 15, 20 minutes afterwards. Let's go Mountaineers.
That's right.